कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Okay, guys, you want to sit separately, all of you guys?
No.
Okay, you guys are good? Okay. So after a long time, right, we are having this class after your summer. So I know I asked to do some homework. Anybody here did the homework? Sunny, Saisha, you did it? Sunny, you did it? No? Okay, so a lot of people, you guys did it. I'm very, very glad that you finished your homework.
We didn't finish.
But what we're going to do is, you know, what was the homework? Homework was about? What was the?
10 minutes of how Gita changed your life.
Yeah. I gave two options. Either write a summary, how much we studied so far, or talk about how your life has been changed after reading Gita, right? After studying for Gita. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to start with the summary of it today. And then we're going to give, you can do your homework, we're going to give you all chances to write the whole thing again, because I'm sure some of you guys have just finished it in last 5-10 minutes. So let's do it very, take your time and do it nicely, right? I want you to remember everything, but I'm going to, do a revision of everything what we studied so far in a quick snapshot, so you get an idea, right? And then you write about it, so you will actually be, I don't want you to rush this homework, right? Take your time and write everything what you can write, right? So to begin Gita, we talk about it. We started Gita like long back, and we spoke about what is Gita. Let's start with the word Bhagavad Gita. What does that mean? Right? Bhagavad is God, right? God. Gita is song. So what does this mean? Song of God. So Bhagavad Gita means song of God. Song of God, song of Lord. So it is written in different ways. Now what happened is, in Bhagavad Gita, it is a moksha shastra. What does moksha shastra means? Like, there are very different, right? Upanishad, there is Upanishad, there is Vedas. So Vedas are divided into Shruti and Smriti. We discussed that a long time back, but I don't know if I want to, revise that part right now. But Bhagavad Gita is one of the moksha shastra, right? So it is not about that how to, get better human being, or get a better management style, or get a better wealth or good wealth. You can, if you read Bhagavad Gita, you will get a lot of wealth. It's not about all those things. What is it about? It's a moksha shastra. What is moksha? Moksha is enlightenment. Moksha shastra. Shastra means the book, right? So it is book of moksha. Moksha means enlightenment. So to get you to the enlightenment, that's where the Gita comes, right? So you know what, in Indian philosophy, there are 4 stages is given. The first one is Kama. Do I have to add it? Okay. The first one is Kama, right? Then there is Artha. Then there is Dharma. And then there is Moksha. Right? Kama is pleasure. Right? Then Artha is wealth. Dharma is morality. And then Moksha is getting enlightened. So lot of books cover all these three things, right? Pleasure, Artha is wealth, Dharma is morality, and then Moksha is enlightenment. So then we go from all these stages and then we reach to this stage, right? So Gita is beyond all these three. Beyond Kama, Artha and Dharma. It doesn't even teach us. Dharma is like being moral or religious and stuff like that. It doesn't even teach that. So it goes to Moksha. That gives us enlightenment. So the biggest thing what as a human we look for, right? What do we look for? What is our goal in life? Anybody?
To be successful.
To be successful, or what does success will give you?
Good life.
Good life. What does good life will give you?
Well, happiness.
Happiness. Everybody looks for happiness, right? Success is a part of happiness, right? It's not the happiness, but it is a part of happiness. The end product is happiness. What do we look for? We always, everybody, even kid to an old person, they all look for what? Happiness in the life, right? So we are looking, so we think that happiness is pleasure. Like if I get good life, good money, good food, that might be happiness, right? Then we say, okay, no, wealth, I need a lot of money. That's the happiness, right? Or I'm very moral, I'm a really good person, then that is a happiness. So we look for happiness in all those things, right? Where what happens, the Gita tells us the happiness is in enlightenment. That it says, it's a permanent happiness. These all will give you temporary happiness, right? But when we reach to this, where the permanent happiness starts, right? So what are we looking for? Happiness. Where is the answer?
Moksha.
Moksha. And where is the answer? We can read about it? How we can learn about moksha?
Gita.
In Gita, right? So Gita gives us permanent happiness, right? That's what it is all about. It will teach us where to find the permanent happiness. All these things will give us temporary happiness, right? So we can be happy temporarily if we just stay in these. But we don't want to stay in this, because what are we looking for? We're looking for a permanent happiness. That's why we look for a moksha shastra, right? So that's where the Gita comes. Now, is Gita about the war? Right? No. Nobody talks about Gita as a war, right? But it starts in a battlefield, right? It is in the battlefield. The whole Gita is being said in the midst of the whole battlefield, right? There are two cousins who are in fighting, right? So Gita was said in the middle of battlefield between who? Who said Gita to whom?
Krishna to Arjuna.
Krishu? Slowly, I'm asking the question, right? So who said Gita? Who taught Gita? Krishna. Krishna taught Gita to who?
Arjuna.
Yeah. Why are you scared answering this? This is a simple question. Arjun, right? Arjun is representation of who? Us, right? We are all Arjun, right? And this is God who is giving us the knowledge, right? So Arjun is our representation and Krishna is the Lord who is giving the knowledge to us through Gita, right? All these things happen in the middle of the battlefield, right? Now, before I go into the whole story, how things happen, I want to tell you that Gita was written 5,000 years ago, right? By who? Who wrote the Gita? Do you know? Krishna said it, but who wrote it?
A.C. Bhakti.
That's just a commentary, right?
Well, it was this guy.
Yeah, who?
Remember? It was
If you know my last name, you will know the name.
I know the name.
My last name. What is my last name? Yeah, Ved Vyas. You remember Ved Vyas was the guy who wrote Gita, right? It was said by Krishna, but it was written by Ved Vyas, right? So Ved Vyas wrote the Gita. Now what happened? It was written 5,000 years ago, and there are 700 verses in Gita, right? So far we are on chapter 4. We have studied, I think, 172 verses, right? We have finished 100 before the break. We did 172 verses so far, right? In last 2 years. So in this, what happened is there are the one that she said, like all the books are written. So these are, everybody does the commentary on Gita, right? Different people wrote, different people study the Gita. Gita was only written about the verses. You know, you have these translation underneath it. It's written by many different people. The first translation that we have in the history is from Shankaracharya, right? Shankaracharya 1500 years ago. Shankaracharya did the commentary on Gita, right? So he read the shlok and he interpreted the answer of the shlok. So he was the first one in 1500 years ago. But in his book, he said a lot of people before also did it, but we don't have a literature, right? We did not have the books at that time. So we did not know what other people before Shankaracharya took the, the summary of Gita or the translation of Gita. So we don't know. But the latest we know is 1500 years ago from Shankaracharya, right? Shankaracharya wrote the Gita on basis of Advaita. Advaita, non-dualism. I hope I get a chance to talk about what Advaita and non-dualism means, but I just want you to get an idea a little bit about it, right? Then next, after that, Ramanuja Swami came. And he commented Gita, but he commented at Vishisht Advaita. So just to let you know, Shankaracharya, when he talked about Advaita non-dualism, he said that everything is Brahman, right? There is no other thing. There is only one thing, that's Brahman. So he discussed that. There is nothing else. Ramanuja Swami, when he wrote Visishta Advaita, means there is a bigger reality and there is all smaller things that are coming out of that bigger reality. So he actually said there are multiple souls, right? So his philosophy was different. So he wrote Gita in a different way. So Advaita Vishisht.
How do you spell that? No, Rama, whatever.
Ramanuj, N-U-J.
And then
Swami, S-W-A-M-I. And then another philosopher that came was, what was his name? Who did Madhusudan Swami, Madhusudan Saraswati.
The Vishishtadvait is like the big realities making
Little realities, yeah. And Madhusudan Saraswati also did the translation of Gita, but he did it in a different philosophy. What he did? He did dualism, Dvait. Dualism. That is V-A-I-D-T. Vait means dualism means there are two. God is separate and we are separate, right? They said two, so then what happens? The bhakti came. Like God is real, there is a God and there is a human being and who can pray God and get things from God. That's what Ramanuj Saraswati did. So the Ramanand Swami did, right? So duality, Madhusudan, sorry. Ramanuji did Vishesh Advait. So there are different kind of philosophy that is done inside Gita. So you can see that Gita actually take everybody and can explain. Gita can be explained by Advait, Gita can be explained by Vishishta Advait, and Gita can be explained by dualism. So all the philosophy can be explained, Gita can explain all the different philosophy. Yeah.
What's his last name?
Madhusudan Saraswati.
Oh, Saraswati.
Madhusudan Saraswati. Right? So now getting back to the where Gita came from, right? So it came from Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a big epic story, was given by Ved Vyas. It was like, it has thousands of words. This Gita is just a little part of it. It only had 700 verses, sloks, but you know the Mahabharata has thousands of verses. In that, what happened? There were two cousins, right, who were fighting for the kingdom. You know, the kingdom was for Yudhishthir, who were 5. Pandavas were 5, and Kauravas were 100. Yeah. So Kauravas were 100, Pandavas were only 5, and they all were fighting for the where Pandavas were moral and righteous, and Kauravas were evil people, right? So that's how the two cousins. What happened is, Kauravas called Pandavas to play a dice game. They played the dice game. They got defeated, right? And then Kauravas took everything from Pandavas and asked them to go to exile to forest for 13 years. So they went to forest for 13 years. When they come back, they said, we promise you, we will give you all your kingdom back. That's what Kaurav said. But then when they came back, Kaurav said, we are not going to give you anything. Not even a land that is size of a needle. We're not going to give you anything. So go back to where you came from and stuff like that. So for that, Pandavas started, no, we will fight for our land. This is our right thing, and we are righteous. We are right people to, to become the king here. So we're going to fight and we're going to get our land back. That's what happened, and that's where the whole Mahabharata came and this Gita came in place. Now what happened is, when we look at the character, it actually gives a philosophy by itself, right? Pandavas were 5, right? The righteous people. So we inside us also have Pandavas and Kauravas. Now how? Because we have right things and wrong things also inside us, right? We have Pandavas also in us, and we have Kauravas also in us, right? When we look at the pleasure all the time, that's who? That's what Kauravas, right? That are looking for pleasure all the time. So we have our mind. Our mind is also consists of both evil and good, right? So Kauravas and Pandavas are in our mind. When we look at the pleasure, we are looking, Kauravas are acting on us, right? And we look at the right things, then what happens? Pandavas are acting on us. But Pandavas are only 5. So you can see that how hard it is. There are 100 bad things in us, and there are 5 good things in us, right? How easy is those 100 to, be overboarded on us to make the wrong decisions, right? So it is very important for us to understand that it is hard, but we have to try it. Like how in Gita, all Pandavas tried to be, to capture all Kauravas and subside them. So that was the whole story. Now, this is the time when there was a battle started, right? Battle is almost about to start. So in chapter 1, when we start for Gita, the first shlok that we read. So what is the scene in the first chapter of Gita? That there is a battlefield. Both the Kauravas and Pandavas are standing next to each other. Not next to each other, means in front of each other. Started ready to fight, right? And there is a telecaster who got a gift. Who was the telecaster? Who was the guy in the Dhritarashtra's court who telecast the things? Sanjay, right? Sanjay was the person who can see far away things and give the breaking news to Dhritarashtra, who was blind, right? Kaurav's father was blind. So he was blind, he couldn't see what happening, he couldn't go for the fight. So he was sitting in the palace just waiting to see what happens in the war. And then there were, it is already saying running out of time. Yeah.
Oh, we started like 10 minutes early.
Oh, okay. So then what happened here is so Sanjay starts gave all the information to Dhritarashtra, who is sitting in the palace, who is the father of Kauravas. Now he is blind. Why did the character become blind in that? It has a philosophy also, because when you get into you don't know the fact of life and you are blinded by the love to something, which was love to Dhritarashtra had a love to son, right? His son Duryodhana. So when he was so blinded in his love, he made wrong decisions. So when we get so blinded into something, some fact of, go behind something, then we become blind towards it, right? So that's what happened with Dhritarashtra. Now Dhritarashtra was sitting in the palace, and Sanjay is the one who delivers all the message that is given in Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra. So everything what Krishna is saying, what Arjuna is doing, what is happening in the battlefield, Dhritarashtra is hearing it from Sanjay, right? Now, before we start the chapter 1, I want to tell you one more thing about Gita. So just to summarize this thing, if you look at it, Gita gives you a harmony of 4 yogas. Now, who remembers those 4 yogas? Which is it?
Karma yoga.
Karma yoga. Let's do one at a time and then let other person do the second. Yes. Jnana yoga. Okay. Risha.
Dharma yoga. Wait, that's one.
Karma, Gyan. Anybody here? Yes, Sana. Sana, you want to say?
Yeah. So Dhyan.
Dhyan, yes. Dhyan, meditation. Knowledge. Okay. So far we got karma, which is action. Dhyan, which is knowledge. Dhyan, which is meditation. And then, let me see if anybody else can say. You already said one. One more? Okay, you guys, one more. Karma, Jnana, Dhyan, and you want to say? Bhakti Yoga. Awesome. Okay, Bhakti Yoga is devotion. So Gita gives harmony of 4 yogas, right? So I want you to keep this in mind, because why? Because we're going to study line by line all these things. If you don't have that in mind on top of your head, you will get confused. So I want you to think about this first before we move on. Got it?
Oh, the paper ripped.
Oh. Are you guys good here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now what is the scene here when we start Gita chapter number 1? There are 18 chapters in it, right? So the scene is, there is a battlefield where 2 enemy soldiers are standing there ready to fight. So in the first slok where Dhritarashtra start, and ask. Dhritarashtra is the guy who is sitting in the palace and asking Sanjay, who is telecasting whole battle to Dhritarashtra. He's saying, Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetre Samaveta Mamka Pandavascheva Kima Kurvant Sanjaya. So what he's saying, Sanjay, tell me what are they doing? Dharma Kshetra, on their work, on their Kurukshetra is the place, the battlefield, right? So at the battlefield, what are they doing? What duty they are doing? The Pandavas and my son, what are they doing, right? So that's where the whole Gita starts from, right? Now Sanjay is seeing the whole scene of the battlefield, right? And he's saying that everybody is standing there ready to fight. There is the Pandavas are lined, and Krishna is the charioteer of the Arjun, and he's standing there. Who's that guru?
Arjun's guru.
Yeah. Bhishma is standing there.
Arjun's guru.
Yeah, and then all these Kauravas are standing, and many. There were 640,000 soldiers were standing. They fought for Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, that many soldiers were fighting. So he was saying that everybody is standing there to fight, and the scene is looking very, uplifted because everybody is ready to fight and ready to defeat their enemies. That's how the scene is, right? That's what he is explaining. Now he is saying that you remember in olden days when you start the war, you start with blowing the conch shield, right? The shank that you blow. So everybody is blowing their conch shield and ready to fight. Now the big part is, do you remember we talk about it? What was the name of Krishna's conch shield? Do you remember? Krishna Bhagwan Shank. Anybody remember there online? Dronacharya, yeah. The guru was standing there. But what was the conch shield name? You remember? The shank.
Like a shell that you blow through? Oh, I have one of those.
It's in the shlok. You guys can see the shlok and get it. Okay. Panchajanya. Did you say that?
I was literally raising my hand.
Oh, I missed it.
You didn't call.
Okay. Anyway, it's the least important, but I just want you to see if you can remember that. Okay. Anyway, so then what happened is Arjun asked Krishna Bhagwan to take the chariot in the middle of the war, because he wants to see middle of the battlefield. He wants to see both sides of the army and figure out how he's going to fight, right? So he asked him to take it in the middle of the battlefield. So Krishna Bhagwan took the chariot and stand right in front of Bhishma and what name did you say? Dronacharya, right? His gurus, Arjun gurus, right? And Arjun, father-like figure. So he takes him there, and the chariot stands right in the middle of the battlefield, so the Arjun can see everything and how he strategizes the fight. But then what happened is, as soon as Arjun sees everybody, all his relatives standing on the Kaurav side, what happened to Arjun?
He didn't want to fight.
He doesn't want to fight now anymore, right? So he said, oh my God, am I ready to kill my guru and my cousins and my everything just to have a pleasure of kingdom and pleasure of the, to get all the kingdom and, fame and everything? I'm fighting for the fame. I'm fighting for the wealth. I don't want to do it. So he keeps talking to Krishna Bhagwan and say, no, this is not right. I will be sinful if I kill everybody. I will go to hell. I will not go to heaven. And this is not the right thing. So the whole first chapter is talking about Arjun depression, right? That he doesn't want to fight now anymore. He comes to the Krishna Bhagwan and say, I don't want to fight. Now, he's talking to his friend, right? Krishna Bhagwan is his friend right now. So he's saying, no, I don't want to fight. Take me back. That's where the first chapter finishes. It's just showing us that in our life also we stand in the middle of the battlefield all the time. There is always two things that we always think about. And how small you are, how little you are, how big you are, how old you are, it doesn't matter. You will always come across two different things in your life, right? It is always battlefield. It's not always the battlefield that you have to take the weapon and fight with it, but it is always the battlefield, right? When you are standing in the middle. Krishu Bandhu. Hello. Okay, we are back. So then, so it's what does it say? The first chapter always tells that what you have to figure out that your situation and Arjun's situation is not different, right? Though he is in battlefield where he has to kill somebody, we are not always in the battlefield where we are ready to, cut somebody's throat, or we are not having weapons in our hand, but we are always in the field of where we are with the thoughts. We are always into two separate decisions that we have to make. Sometimes Kauravas of our inside, the evil part of our side, becomes dominating and asks us to do different things. That is not right? That we have to subside them, and then what we have to do is we have to take Pandavas of our our thoughts and make it more righteous decision, right? This happens every single time. So now, sometimes the case that how Arjun got depressed and sat down, we get confused too, and we sit down and we don't know how to decide, right? At that time, Arjun goes to his best friend and he says that, I don't want to fight because this doesn't look right. Now, the second chapter starts, right? After all this scenario that he gives you, the second chapter starts, and it talks about where Arjun has took his Gandharv, which was the bow and arrow of his. He put it down, which he loved so much. He never put it down. It was always on his shoulder. Arjun puts it down, sit on the chariot, and said, I don't want to fight, right? That's where the first chapter closes, and the second chapter. Now, Krishna Bhagavan hasn't said a word at all now, right? Till now, he did not say anything. Now, if your friend is doing this, right, where he's ready to fight, at that end moment where you have to make a decision and you are almost about to do it, and then what happens is your friend or you says, no, I don't want to do it. What will your friend say? So in slok number 2, where Krishna Bhagavan comes back and says, in this dangerous situation, what are you thinking? Why are you become so weak, right? Why are you become so coward that you don't want to fight? So Krishna Bhagavan as a friend respond back and said, no, why are you becoming so coward? Don't sit down. This is the most dangerous time where you have to go and fight, and now you are giving up everything and sitting down. This is not the right thing, right? That's where he starts saying. And he says, don't be such unmanningly. Don't become so weak. Come on, stand up and go fight. Then Arjun starts saying again, no, I cannot fight because I will beg. I will leave everything. I will beg and live, but I don't want to kill anybody. So I'm not going to fight it, right? So he kept on giving his part of his thoughts. Now, when we come to the 7th slok of the chapter 2, where what happens is he comes to his senses, and what does he say? This is the main slok in where the whole Gita changes, right? Right now, till now, Arjun was talking about his side of the time, right? Now Arjun got it, and he says, Krishna is not saying anything, right? Until Krishna Bhagavan did not say anything. Now Arjun realizes that whatever he's saying, it might not be right. right? Because Krishna didn't respond yet, right? The only thing he said, you are doing something wrong, get up and fight. That's the only thing Krishna Bhagavan says. And he said 43 shloks, 47 shlok in the first chapter, and then 6 shloks again in the second chapter. What he is saying? He just actually saying about his side of the thought, right? Krishna Bhagavan didn't even put a one wise word in his so far, right? At that time, while the shlok 7 came, Arjun realizes his mistake, and what does he say? He says, Karpanya dosho, how do you sing that one? Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prachyami tvam dharma samudha cheta yache yasyanishchitam bhruyatanme shishyaste hamsadimam tvam prapannam. So what is he saying? In this one he says, you know what? I am becoming, my mind has given up. I'm not thinking right? I'm your disciple. Take in your refuge and tell me what to do. So far, what was he doing? He was just keep saying about his thought, how bad it is, how sinful it is, how wrong he, thinks he is doing. This time he says that I'm very little now. I'm not thinking right. My mind is not working right. I'm coming to your refuge. Now I'm surrendering to you, God. Tell me what to do. Now what is the difference between before what he was saying and in this shlok? Why did Krishna Bhagavan started talking after this shlok? Why? Because? Yeah.
He asked for help.
He asked for help, right? So far what was he doing? He was just telling his part. He was not surrendering. Now in this shlok he said, I'm very little, my mind is not working. Please, I'm coming in your refuge. Take me as a refuge and I'm surrendering to you, God. Please tell me what to do. Right? Now Krishna Bhagavan comes. So for this also we need to learn this thing, that what happens is, until we don't surrender to God, God doesn't come to help. Right? You have to surrender yourself. Right? You have to tell, I need some help, God help me. Right? If we think, oh, we are super smart, we will do everything by ourselves, can that be possible? No, right? So that's what happened. Arjun was keep on saying his thoughts, but not asking for help. Now he asked for help, right? So that's where Krishna Bhagavan starts saying things, right? So this is after this. Krishna Bhagavan starts, when Krishna Bhagavan's first shlok comes where he starts teaching. That is shlok number 11 on chapter 2, right? Here he straight comes to the teaching. He didn't waste any time, right? The second chapter is Sankhya Yoga, right? Sankhya Yoga means knowledge of yoga, right? So that's the name of second chapter, Sankhya Yoga. In this chapter, now Krishna Bhagavan at 11th shlok start talking about Jnana Yoga. Now, what happened? He directly comes to Arjun, and what does he teach? He teach about what are you, right? You remember we divided chapter 2 into 4 different sections. You remember what was the first section? Surrendering to Krishna Bhagavan, right? Arjun surrendered to Krishna Bhagavan. What was the second one? Yeah. Arjuna is a disciple. That was, I think, the first one. I actually changed the word, but you are right. The first thing was Arjun as disciple. What was the second one? What was the second part of the chapter? Yeah. What are we? Right? What are we? What is our real nature? What was the third one? Yes.
The difference between enlightened and enlightened.
You are very right, but that was the fourth one. What was the third one? Spiritual practices. Right? So those were the 4 different sections that we divided into, right? It's better you write it down, otherwise in summary I want you guys to use these things so that you can summarize this very nicely, right? So then we divided the chapter. So now what happened, that the first part where Arjun comes as disciple finishes here, right? Now what are we? So Krishna Bhagavan directly jump into the core teaching of Vedanta, starting from the first shlok, right? He doesn't even wait for any other questions from Arjun. As soon as he surrendered, God comes and teaches the whole Vedanta in first slok itself, right? So that's how aggressive God comes when we ask for help from God, right? So he comes and he starts talking about what are we? What are we? So now think about it. You are in this confusion that whether to fight this war or not, or whether to make this decision or not, right? Whether I should do something that's very important for me, should I do it or not? It's that point of the part where, and Krishna talks about what are we, right? What is our real nature? Why did he say that? Because until unless we don't know what we are, can we make the right decision? No, right? If you know that you are really good at dance and your mom says, do you want to go in dance or singing? If you don't know if you're good in dancing or singing, how will you pick up? How will you pick the class? You will only pick the class where you really know that, okay, I'm good in dancing, I'm good in singing, so I can go in these classes, right? That's how, if you want to take the life lesson, you are on the path of enlightenment. You don't know what you are, you cannot understand them, right? How will you take the right decision? So first of all, you need to know what you are. Krishna Bhagavan did not give him the direct answer saying that, okay, yeah, go fight, right? He did not do that. What did he do? He said, let me tell you what you are, and then you make the decision what to do, right? So that's why he started with explaining what you are. So now he talks about that the first slok that he does is slok number 11. Did I start with 11? Yeah. Okay. So it is, Krishna, you want to read this slok? 11?
Hold on.
If not, I can. You're opening? You want to read it? 11? Okay. Joor se loudly.
What page is it? 72.
72. Chal Krishna, jaldi kar.
Wait, everyone's reading together, right?
Huh?
Everyone's reading together.
Okay, everyone read together. Let's do it.
Everyone's opening the Gita to the page.
Okay. You guys have it too? It's the second chapter, slok 11.
Shri Bhagavan.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Ashocyananmashochastvam Pragnavadasya bhasase Gata sunna gata shunshcha Nanu sochanti pandita. So in this he says that you have been grieving for those who should not be grieved on, right? So don't grieve about the things that you are grieving on. You should not grieve. Wise men never grieve on dead or alive, right? So that's what he said in the first slok. As soon as you are grieving about, you should not be grieving, right? And wise men don't grieve on dead or alive people. Now, this is a rude thing to say, right? And in our sense, as a human, we will say, how can you say that I cannot grieve about a person who are lost, right? How should I not grieve about my friend that I left the town and went to a different school? I should grieve about it, right? Because that person left or somebody has been lost. So he attacked Arjun really harshly as soon as he started teaching him, right? So now he says you should not grieve about it. If somebody comes and say to you, you will be surprised and start listening. What does he have to say more, right? Because this is a hard thing to say to us. So now Arjun is all awake and want to listen to Krishna Bhagavan. What else he wants to say? Because he said so big thing. I don't know how can I not grieve about people whom I'm going to lose, right? So, but he's saying that. And then he talks about as this body, now next look, he talks about again what you are. So he's just explaining what we are, right? So first thing he says, you should not grieve on anybody, right? Whether somebody is born or die, you should not grieve on them, right? Then second thing he says that as childhood, when the life, childhood came, youth came, old age come, same as the body changes, right? So there is something that he is explaining which we don't know, that he is explaining, that goes through childhood, youth, and then old age, you die and the body changes. So the body change is same as the body change from the childhood to the youth, right? So childhood, you are a kid, right? You are small, little, you are just born. Like, see, think about a year-old baby, how small that is. And think about your parents, how big they are, right? So the body changed, right? From going from childhood to the youth, then to old age, body changes, right? Then the person dies, the body stays, but something goes out, right? And the different body comes again, right? So in this shlok, he talks about the rebirth concept of Hindu philosophy, right? The body goes away, but there is something that stays and move on to the next body, right? So in this shlok, what does he talk about? A rebirth that is coming back again. So there is something that goes through this life. It goes in everybody's childhood stage, youth stage, old stage, then it gives up from the body, and then it changes the body and takes a different body, right? So that's what he says about this. Now, the central teaching, he gives it in shlok number 16 of this chapter. If you want to skip the whole shlok, all the chapter 2, you cannot skip shlok number 16. This is the essence of the teaching. Let's read shlok number 16 and then we will discuss about it. Okay. Now, we all read together? No, can you get a glass of water, please? Okay, you guys ready? You guys are ready? Okay. Ready? Come on. Sasto vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubhayorapi drashtantvas, nayostatvattarshibhi. Okay. So this one is I'm blessed that we have all these commentators to comment on this shlok. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand the meaning of it if nobody would have taught us. So, it says very clearly what it is, that unreal. Thank you, Raja.
Wait, what shlok is it?
16th, chapter 2, shlok 16. You got it? Okay. So what does it say? Unreal doesn't exist, or unreal have no existence. And real always exist, right? The person who knows the difference between this is the wise person, right? The knower of the reality. Now, it sounds cool, right? It sounds cool that unreal is not existence and real is existence, but what is the deeper meaning on this, right? What does he means unreal and real, and what does it explains, right? So it's very, keep your eyes and ears open on this one, because again, this is the essence of the whole chapter, right? So we want to understand this very perfectly. So what happens is that there is I will explain you with two concepts, and last time also I think we used both the concepts so you can understand, right? So what does he say is that there is unreal thing that is not real, does not exist, right? And there is a real thing that always exists. So it doesn't run out of existence. Something unreal does not exist means it exists, it doesn't have the permanent existence, right? Real has permanent existence. So means permanent existence means it doesn't born and doesn't die, right? Unreal thing born and die because the existence comes and goes away, right? So you remember that some of the things has intrinsic property. Intrinsic properties, right? And then some has extrinsic. I will tell you the meaning of both the properties. Extrinsic means incidental or accidental, or can be seen as borrowed. Intrinsic property is the property they never lose. Something never lose this property. And extrinsic or incidental or borrowed or accidental properties is they loses that property. So let me give you an example of boiling potato, right? Do you remember that example? We used many years ago, 2 years ago, right? So there is a boiling potato. There is a boiling potato. Now I took the boiling potato out of pot. What temperature will it be? Will it be hot or will it be cold? Hot, very hot when I took it out, right? But when I take and serve it after 15-20 minutes and then I started eating, did the potato stay hot?
No.
It got cold, right? So can I say that potato, the hot potato, the heat is the intrinsic property of potato or extrinsic property of potato? Extrinsic. Why?
Because it lost
It lost. Yeah, it only stayed for some times because it was a borrowed property. Borrowed from what?
Water.
The water, the hot water. Did the hotness is the intrinsic property of water?
No.
No, it was also borrowed. Borrowed from which?
The gas.
The pot.
A pot.
So the pot has a, then the pot should have an intrinsic property of heat.
No.
No, then
It's borrowed from the flame.
Yeah.
from the fire,
Yeah.
right? Does the fire has an intrinsic property of heat?
Yeah.
No.
Why?
Yes,
No,
it
goes
does.
out.
It's
Fire always hot, right? No matter where the fire.
But
You
what
know
if it goes out?
there was
And there's
a
no fire.
in Siberia there was a airplane,
exist.
right? There was a news. Airplane was so frozen that they had to take the passenger out and ask them to push the airplane. That was the news, but I don't know how much true was it. They had to ask but then they couldn't push the airplane out because the ice was so strong. Then they have to put a fire to melt the ice. So in Siberia where it was so cold, fire was still hot. So fire is an intrinsic property of being hot, right? Fire intrinsic property is hot, where potato hotness was accidental, incidental, borrowed or extrinsic property, right? So now you understand that what is it? So now take an example of existence. Now we are talking about existence, right? So existence, let's talk about, is the existence a borrowed property or for us or for a human being? Is existence is a borrowed property or intrinsic property?
It's a borrowed.
It's a borrowed property. Why?
Because, like,
cause it.
It's not forever like you leave the body.
Yes. So for me as a sonal, existence is not intrinsic property, it's a borrowed property. Because I am existent right now, but when I die, I'm not existent. Right? My existence goes away. Right? So body, if I talk about body as a sonal, then it is a borrowed property. Right? But if I talk about my soul, then what property it becomes? The existence become intrinsic property for that. Right? So now, what is real and what is unreal? So what we say, if it has an intrinsic property, means that is a real thing. If it is a borrowed, then it becomes unreal. Now, unreal is also can be called false. In Sanskrit, we call mithya. Right? Mithya. Right? So, real is sat. Real means sat in Sanskrit. Satya. Satya means true, real. Right? And then unreal become mithya. Right? So, there is a big statement that everybody talks. You know, people in India or who are following the Hindu religion, they might not have read Gita, right? But they will know this statement. Everybody in India or everybody who follows the Hindu religion will know that Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. That statement everybody will know, right? What is it? Brahma Satya, Satya, Jagat Mithya.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Right? Now think about it. Yes, Krishi, you want to try?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Brahman is real, but the world is like unreal.
Mithya. Yeah. Now it is based on this. Right? It is based on intrinsic property and the borrowed property. So Brahma Satya. Brahma Satya means the consciousness that is there is real. Right? Because existence is their intrinsic property, right? So the Brahman in me or Brahman around will continue going, right? Even if I die, does it die? It doesn't die. Does it get born? The body gets born, the body dies, but does the Brahman dies or get born? No, it just transferred. Like how we change the cloth, Brahman transfer, the soul transfer the bodies, right? So they don't, the Brahman is real because it's Satya. Its existence is always there, no matter what, right? Now Jagat is borrowed property. That's why we say it's Mithya, right? Now Mithya is borrowed because it is appearance. In Vedanta language, we call borrowed property as appearance too, right? So what happened is, Brahma Satya means Brahman is Satya. Jagat means all this world that we see. Like all these people we see, all these things we see is Mithya means it is unreal. It's borrowed. Right? It is borrowed by the consciousness that's in. Right? If the consciousness is not in this body, what's going to happen? If the consciousness not in this body, then what happens? Can I see the world?
No.
Can I experience the world?
No.
No. Then what happens? The whole world disappears. Because I was using the borrowed property. Right? So then the whole world goes away. Right? So that's how it is divided. And this is how it is being said. Now, couple things I want to just give an example of this. Now, they also give the example of effect and cause. I want you to understand one more concept on the same thing, so it gives you a very clear understanding on this. Effect and cause, right? What is the time? How much time? Oh, it's already time. Okay. Let me explain this real quick and then I will let you guys go. Effect and cause. Every effect has a cause. Right? Every effect is influenced by the cause. Like effect is if I say that there is a pot, right, made up of clay, right? Pot and clay example. So the pot is effect. What is the material cause of it? Clay, right? Clay is cause and effect is pot, right? Now if I say that clay and pot are two different things, can I say that?
Yes.
Can I separate them? Clay and pot?
Yeah.
How can I? Okay, if I take the clay out of pot, can you show me the pot?
No, it's nothing.
So how I can make it two separate things? I cannot, right?
Clay, but isn't like clay separate from pot? But like the pot's not separate from
You
clay.
use
No,
to
the
make
clay,
pot.
if I take
Yeah,
the
but
clay
there's
out,
more clay than just what you used in the pot.
no, it's just the clay, right? If I tell you there is a wood table, right? All made up of wood. So I will say there is a roof of the table, then there is a four things, that the four legs, so that's the table, and there is a wood. Are there five things in it? No, right? I cannot separate wood out of the table, right? So what is the effect? Effect is the pot, the cause is the clay. Effect can never be without the cause, right? Can pot be without the clay?
No.
Can table be without the wood? Can I say no, wood is not there, make the table? I cannot, right? I cannot make the pot and clay. So cause is always with the effect, right? Effect has to have a cause, otherwise it's not there, right? The same way, if you look at it, our existence, so our effect, everything that we see around is the effect, right? Everything that it sees around, that's the appearance, that's the form. Pot is a form, right? There is a pot, right? It acts like a pot, it does like a pot, it behaves like a pot. There is a pot, there is appearance, right? But then cause is what? Clay. So when I talk about our body and mind and intellect, where does it fall? It falls in effect or it falls in a cause? Our body, mind, intellect, all these falls into effect, right? What is the cause of it?
Atma.
What is the clay for that? Cause is consciousness. Soul, yeah. Right? So you got it? So what is real and what is unreal in here? Because effect depends on the cause. So it becomes unreal. And cause doesn't depend on anything. It has its own existence. Then what happens is it becomes real. So what is real and what is unreal in this? Our consciousness becomes real because it's a cause. What is effect? The body, mind, intellect and the whole jagat is the effect. Whole appearance of the world is effect. So then it becomes unreal, right? So now even if I say that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, that works out here too?
Yes.
That also work out with the fact and cause relationship, right? Because what happened is Brahma Satya. Brahma is the soul, real. That Jagat is the all body, mind, intellect, all the appearances. It becomes unreal. Jagat Mithya, right? So when we talk about it, the 16th shlok gives all the answers about this thing, right? Why unreal does not exist. And real never runs out of existence. This explains what are we. So if we stay in this concept, if we think we are body, mind and intellect, you are what? Unreal. You are effect. If you stay in consciousness, soul concept, then what are you? The real. So when you talk about you being real, what you are, then you have to go to the deeper sense. You cannot stay at the body, mind, intellect level, right? So that's how it is. Now I want you to understand this very last thing then before I close it, because we might not discuss it and I want you to have this important thing. So when we talk about there are two kind of realities. Always remember this. That will you say, okay, Sonal aunty, then what is about this body mind? Do we think that it's nothing? It's unreal? We should not take care of it. We should just throw it away and we just concentrate on the real thing, consciousness and soul, right? We have to think about this way. There are lower reality and higher reality, right? I don't want you guys to just think this way that, okay, so lower reality, if the man stays in a lower nature of human, they stay at body, mind and intellect. When you go higher, then you get to the consciousness level, right? So when there is a transaction world here, right, where the body, mind and intellect come, right? So first you have to always think to divide yourself into two realities, right? Lower reality and higher reality, right? If you stay in lower reality, then this world is good, right? You will enjoy the world, happiness, pleasure. There will be sorrow, because there is happiness, there will be always a sorrow. So you're going to fall into sorrow and happiness continuously. No worries. I will stay in lower reality. If you want to get enlightened, the purpose of your human life is enlightenment, then what you have to do is you have to go of the higher reality, which is that there is always permanent happiness, right? That's what we always look for, right? What does human look for? Is permanent happiness. So we have to think about our higher nature, our higher reality, and that's where we stay. Good. So we did chapter 2 a little bit, but we also did chapter 3 already last time. So I'm going to do one more summary. Okay, next class also I will continue the summary till chapter 3, and then you do your homework. How about that?
So
Okay.
we're presenting next week.
Yeah, but make sure that you go in detail like that. So you will get a material to talk about it for 7 to 10 minutes.
Because I forgot.
Yes.
So do you do this homework on how it affected our life or a summary?
Whatever you like,
Can we
Raja.
do both?
You can take some part of this and then relate to your life, what you are learning, how you are doing, how you're gonna do. Yeah, this is good. So you can connect both of them. I want you guys to not just say it, I want you to connect it and think through it, right? So you think about this 2 chapters that we're gonna discuss, chapter 2 and chapter 3, and then take the example of your real life example and then tell how it is impacting it, right? Okay, let's close it. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamshishanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.